Welcome to Specific Love. Backed by popular demand, this is the 9th edition of 20 French Cleat Ideas. Let's begin. Now, the oscillating multi-tool is a great tool to have, but due to its size and its shape, it's not the easiest tool to store. Let me show you what I came up with. Now, I found when you're storing the multi-tool, it's best to either turn the blade downward or take it off completely so you don't get cut as it's sticking out. Now, this holder I built is real simple. I've taken 2 pieces of wood and I've sandwiched this tool in between them, but also over here on this left side, I have created a nice little notch, and that fits around the neck. When you have it in place, it doesn't allow it to move side to side or forward and back very easily, thus securing it and you don't have to worry about it falling off if it just gets bumped lightly. Now over here on the other side, I have built just some little boxes for all the different multiple tools that it can hold for your multi-tool. Now I got this great idea from Joel Greenwood over at the French Cleat Facebook group. I'll tell you more about that at the end of the video. Now, next idea comes from Nick Jett. He was suggesting if we have a workbench but not the best lighting overhead, as long as we had some French cleats on the wall, we can easily create a mobile French cleat light for us. Now, this is one of those inexpensive, lightweight, really light duty shop lights, and that allows us to use just a basic furring strip and a nice backing here to create a nice little overhead light that we can move back and forth depending on where we need the light. Now, because this is such a lightweight light, we don't have to be too concerned about it flipping forward. I did create a nice little piece here that came down and bumped into this cleat below just to give it a little extra security, but overall this right here is a great idea to add a little extra light, a little mobile light to your workbench. Now, I built this bench cookie little dispenser in a previous video and it works great, but I also recently purchased these little cones that fit on top of those little cookies to finish your projects. Now, unfortunately, there's no easy place to store this. Well, one of the great things about building your own French cleats is you can modify and add whatever you'd like to it. For example, this right here, it just has some notches in it and a hole so I can easily store these little cones right there in place. Now, if I was just to hang this up on the French cleats, it's so lightweight it'd probably easily get knocked down. But I'm just going to attach it right next to this current piece here, and this will allow me to store them up out of the way, and everything still stays nice and together. Next up is this little tool holder for some of your larger pliers. Now, this is made almost completely out of 3/4 inch plywood, and I've cut some slots here in each of these, just 5 total for this one. I've left it rounded down here in the front. That gives it a little bit additional strength. You don't have to worry about it cracking. Now, looking from the side, you'll notice that I've angled this down. This allows your tools to lean forward to have easy access and easy to grab. But I've also supported these with some additional pieces on the side because as you're using this, pulling the tools in and out, you're going to be bumping this constantly, and we don't want any of these fingers to be broken. Now, on the bottom, I've added a base, and not only does that help keep the tools in, but it allows it to be self-standing. So anytime you need to take this over to your project, you easily can, and it will stand up for you. And that's a great little project, little holder for you. Hope you can make one. Now, for those of you who are as old as I am or older, you might remember having cubby holes in school. That gave me the great idea of building this little cubby hole holder out of some PVC pipe. Now, this right here is just the drainage pipe. It's the real thin walled, so it's lightweight, and I've just glued 3 of them together and then attached them to a backing so you can put it on your French cleats. The great thing about this is you can use them to store gloves or tools or rags or whatever you like. It's super simple and super easy. Now, having a place to store all your drills and your batteries and your chargers is awesome. But if you're just starting out, you don't need such a large setup here. In fact, you just need a place to stick a couple drills. And that's why I built this very simple holder here. This is just some 3/4 inch plywood that I have cut out here. And you just need to make sure that your drills will fit in there nicely and hold and securely in place and not have to worry about them sliding out. Now, this one right here, I've just secured the side of it with some additional furring strips so it doesn't weaken and crack them as you're being used. And on the bottom here, I have one large support that supports this center piece as well. But it is actually part of the backing that allows you to secure it nice and safe against your French cleats. So if you're just starting out, you can build such a simple little setup and have a great place to store your drills. Now here's another great holder for those starting out with your tool holders. This right here is just a multi-purpose holder. I drilled out some 2-inch holes here. You can add your hammers or mallets. I have some slots here you can put some pliers in. And I have some holes here that you can put screwdrivers or whatever you'd like. There's an open area here in the middle that you can leave flat, or you can even notch it out maybe with a grinder, so you can have like a little catch-all tray in the middle there. It's real simple, just some French cleats in the back and some little side supports, and it's a great little multi-purpose holder. Now here's another super simple idea for those starting out. I just took a piece of wood here and I just took a paper plate. You don't have to use necessarily paper plates, it could be aluminum plates or whatever you'd like, and I cut them in half. And this will allow you to take some of your additional blades or your additional sanding pads and stick them and store them real easily. Super simple idea, hope you can use it. Now in a previous video, I built this holder for this reciprocating saw. It does its job well, but it is a little bit big and bulky, so I decided to redesign this. And I cut about 1/3 of its size off, and I've also converted it from horizontal to a vertical holder. This will allow me to be able to hopefully get more tool holders up on the wall and be able to get it just to look better. Now, I have one little holder here with a little stop block on the edge there so it doesn't slide off, so we got to lift this over through the handle and it fits in there nicely. I do have an additional stop block here because this wants to swing. This right here will allow it to stay nice and vertical. Of course, I have a little holder down here that I can store the blades in, and that allowed me to get this up and out of the way and have a little bit more room for some more French cleats. Now, if you work with a lot of wood, there's a good chance you're going to have a bunch of scraps left over because, I mean, who really likes to throw away good pieces of wood? I don't. So Steve Larson had a great idea for storing these. He said get an old milk crate. That way you can easily store your wood inside, and then if it does get dusty, because of all the holes that are inside, you can easily take your blower, blow it off in there, and still easily see all the different types of wood that are currently in it. And with all the holes that are in a milk crate, it makes it real simple and easy to add a French cleat to the back or even to the side of it. That way you can store this up on your wall and out of your way. If you've ever had to install a fence, there's a good chance that you probably had to use a fence post driver. This thing is essential to get those posts deep into the ground. But unfortunately, it's big, bulky, and has a good bit of weight. And since it's made out of all metal, if you accidentally kick this thing or if it falls over on your leg or something while you're storing it, it hurts. So I made an awesome little simple holder for, of course, your French cleats. Now this right here is those simple little metal hooks that you can buy real cheap, probably at Harbor Freight or basically any hardware store really inexpensively. And I just made sure they're securely attached to this 2x6, and that allows me to get this driver up and off the floor. So now I don't have to worry about kicking this thing anymore. It's a great little holder for your fence post driver. Now maybe you have some of these extra crates lying around your house, maybe for storage, for say yearly decorations like my wife does, or anything else for that matter. These are actually really easy to use for French cleats as well. I've just used a piece of 3/4 inch plywood here, and then I've created some arms with the same thickness wood, and I've just made sure that it is secure to your French cleats whenever you hang them up. Now when you have these in place, and when I was designing these, I made sure the arms are slightly tapered in so that they follow the angles of the wall of your crate. And one more thing about this design, it allows you to easily have access to the inside of your crate without having to move it. So it's a great way to store some of your storage units. Not everybody here should know about wooden French cleats, but did you know they actually sell metal French cleats as well? Let me open this up and show you what it looks like. Now the setup comes with 2 little aluminum plates. One of them that attaches to the wall, and it comes with a level to make sure everything is perfectly level. And the other one attaches to your mirror, your canvas, or your picture, or whatever you would like. And then these two come together and it creates a nice little French cleat hold right there. So you know this is up there nice and strong. Now these little tiny pieces are supposed to be able to handle 60 pounds. So you know they're pretty heavy duty. Now I designed this holder in a previous video. It holds my turning tools and it works well for what it is, but I noticed it's just big and bulky up on the wall, and I was hoping to condense it just a little bit. So I came up with this design here, and side by side it's about the same height with the tools in place, but it's about half the width. So this should work out well. Now to build this, I just used some 3/4 inch plywood, and on the top here I drilled 9 holes. And if you notice, I kind of followed the outside of it as well, just to make it a little more aesthetically pleasing to the eyes. Now for the bottom, I did the same design, but I only went about 1/8 of an inch down because you don't need the holes to go all the way through the bottom. Now with those 1/8 inch little divots in the bottom there, it makes it nice and secure for your tools. You don't have to worry about them falling out as well. Now as you notice, both of these are self-standing, but I just have a feeling, since the bottom of this is a little bit bigger than this design here, that this is going to be a little bit more stable as well. So smaller, more compact, more stable, and holds the same amount of tools. I think that's a win. Next up are these over-the-door hangers. If you actually flip them upside down, a lot of these will have 45-degree angles, making these some awesome hooks for your French cleats. I recently bought a contour gauge. This is one of those you can do odd shapes and be able to know exactly where you need to cut it. But these are actually pretty simple to store. Since these are pretty flat already on the bottom down here, all you need is a piece of wood and then another piece glued to it with a notch cut out. And this will allow you to easily store it right inside there up on your wall. Now if you ever do any maintenance on your own vehicles, an oil filter wrench is a necessity. And here's a great way to store it. I just took a soup can and attached it with some hot glue. You'd be surprised how well hot glue attaches to wood, and it's now nice and secure on there. Now it allows me to easily store that wrench right there in place. Plus it gives me some additional storage within the can for whatever you'd like. A viewer by the name of Eric Ensman suggested a great idea. Whenever we're cutting our French cleats and we're cutting those 45-degree angles off, you usually have these long strips left over. A lot of times these will just make it into the trash, but instead you can use these around maybe some of your shelves in your garage or basement to create that little buffer zone, so that if you have anything start to roll, it doesn't roll off the shelf or bump off the shelf as well. So it's a great idea to use these. Also, I was thinking these can make some great stirring sticks. Whenever you need to stir something, say in a 5-gallon bucket or anything large for that matter, you can really get down in there and stir real well with these. So I definitely suggest saving a few of these for some future uses. Now if you're trying to make your tool holders look a little bit nicer, here's a great way to make them look flush against the wall. Build a little frame here and then actually embed your French cleat to be right here behind it, if you can see that right there. That way when you have a cleat up on the wall and you slide it into place, this will be nice and flush. You won't actually see the holder behind the wall because your frame will be nice and flush against that wall. And that's a great way to make a hidden cleat. One last great idea for you if you're in a retail shop, or maybe you're wanting one of your tools to really stand out and pop. Not only do you want that French cleat on the back to be hidden, but if you take that frame you have and actually put a box around it, put 4 sides all the way around it, this will give it almost like a shadow box look to your tool. And maybe you can even encase it in some foam or whatever you like. Now of course, this right here is not really for the daily DIYer, and you know, you want easy access to your tool. This is more for like retail, or maybe you just invented a new tool and you want it to stand out from everything else. This would be one of the ways to do that. Now, as I mentioned earlier, there's a Facebook group dedicated to French cleats. Whether you're just starting out and you're trying to put a bunch of French cleats up on your wall and you want ideas, or maybe you already have a ton of French cleat ideas and you just want to show it off and help other people in the process of building theirs. I'll put a link to that in the description below, so make sure you check them out. Otherwise, get out in your shop and have fun building.